So again, this is lucky sevens with a loop accumulator. Okay. So the first thing that we want to do, let me get rid of this. Include a comment. So first thing that we want to do, we should import our random statement. Right, we should import our random module. I'm gonna say import random. Alright, because we want to simulate a dice roll, which is gonna roll a number between 1 and 6. Okay, so we need that import random module. Next, we're gonna ask the user for their name. Okay, let's ask the user for the name, and this should be, let's call it username. We're gonna store an input because we need input from the keyboard. So we're gonna say, what's your name? Okay, what's your name? Right. Next thing that we should do, we should generate a random number between 1 and 6. Alright, so we're going to create two variables called dice1 and dice2. We're going to store a random number between 1 and 6 in each of those dice. Okay. So we're going to generate a random number between 1 and 6 to simulate the rolling of a dice. Nice. So we have a dice1 variable. We're going to say random dot randint, and we want to store a number or generate a random number rather from 1 to 6. And we're going to create a second dice variable doing the same thing. So we're going to say dice underscore 2 is equal random dot randint number 1 through 6. Alright, because remember on a dice you only have numbers from 1 to 6. Okay, nice. Next thing that we should do, we should store the total, right? The total of, actually we should add the total of dice 1 and dice 2. Okay, all it is a rendition of our lucky sevens assignment. We're just modifying it, but I'm just doing it from scratch. So I'm going to add dice 1 and dice 2, and that's going to be stored in that total variable. Okay, so before we move forward, let's just print our total. Let's see what we're getting. I actually want to print all three of our variables. So we're going to print dice 1, dice 2, and total. Okay, so let's run. So what's your name? We have 6 and 3, and our total is 9. Let's run that again. We have 3 and 2, and our total is 5. Okay, nice, so we could move forward. The next thing that we want to do is we want to create a conditional statement, right? So we want to check if the total of the two dices is equal to 7. Okay, if it's equal to 7, so we're going to check. We're going to say if total is equal to 7, right? This is a comparison operator. It's going to return true or false. If that's true, we want to print. We're going to reference the username variable because we want to print out the name and say username you win. Okay, say username you win. Right. If it doesn't equal to 7, that means you lost. Right, so we could say username you lose. Oh, I'm forgetting my quotations. Okay, so we're back where we were. So technically we haven't started this lab exercise just yet. So what's your name? You lose. Okay, so I didn't roll a 7, I'm assuming. You lose. Let me output my total just to see what I'm getting, right? So I could say print Dice total is total. Okay, there we go. Dice total is total. Nice. Okay. So if I run my program, dice total is 6, you lose. Okay, now we can officially start our lucky sevens with a loop on the accumulator, right? So we actually want to loop through a set of code and we want to keep an accumulator, right? So we're going to modify our lucky sevens code and then we're going to so that it repeats the game 5 times. So this game is going to repeat 5 times, right? So here's what we should do. After we've asked the user for their name, we want to write a for loop so that we could repeat this game 5 times. So we could say for I in range 5, right? For I in range 5, and we want to indent everything. Actually, let's see. Yeah, let's indent everything. Everything after that for loop, we want to indent it, right? So you could highlight everything and hit tab on your keyboard. Okay, highlight everything and hit tab on your keyboard. Now, outside of our for loop after our username, we want to keep some accumulators, right? Accumulator just means to keep count. So we need to keep count of how many times that we win and how many times that we lose, right? So we could say win is equal to 0, and we could say lose is equal to 0, right? So we want to start them off at 0. Inside of our if statement, every time that our total is equal to 7, or every time our dice roll is equal to 7, or in other words, every time that we win, we want to add on to win, okay? So inside of our if statement, we could say win. Actually, let's do that after. So we could say win plus, sorry, win equals win plus 1. So every time we win, every time our total, our dice roll is equal to 7, it's going to add 1 on to win. Alright? We could do the same thing if we lose. So we could say lose is equal to lose plus 1. And you could use the shorthand if you want to, where you say win is plus equal to 1. It's the same thing. Okay? And at the end of our program, okay, outside of our for loop, keep that in mind, outside of our for loop, we want to print the amount of times that we won and the amount of times that we lost. So we could say print you won okay, that's going to say you won the amount of times that we win times. Going to include a second print function. I'm going to say you lost times. Okay, so let's run our program. So now, JD. So let's take a look at our output. Right, ran pretty fast. So this is the first time that our loop ran. The dice total was 7. That means I won, right? So it printed JD you win, and it added on to my win variable, right? So you can see that I won 3 times. So we have one here, and one here. So it said you won 3 times. I lost 2 times, which is right here and right here. Okay. It's only giving me 7 and 8. Let's run it again, see if we could get some different numbers. So I'm gonna run. Great, we got 3 different numbers. So I won 1 time, which is just total equals 7, and I lost 4 times. So just to give my output some space, here's what we can do. Right in here after times, we can use something called an escape character. So we could say backslash n, and that's going to create a new line after this print function. Okay, after that print function, it's going to create a new line. So let's see. Actually, I want it on my loose. Uh, yeah, let's print it off the loose. So my name's JD. It's telling me dice total is 5, you lose. Dice total is 6, you lose. Let's run again. There we go. Actually, they can telling me oh, I used my escape character in the wrong place. I actually want to use that escape character inside of my conditional statements. Alright, so let's see. Run again. We have JD. There we go. That's what I wanted. There's more spacing in between my output. So I want one time. Nice results. My input tells me how many times I want. Okay. So do we have any questions? Anyone have questions? Okay, so that is lab exercise Lucky 7 with loop and accumulator.